Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of the Ramp podcast. I'm your guest host, Diana Perkins, while Tina is off this week competing to win a national title. So let's all have her in our thoughts and wish her good luck. This week, I am joined by the fantastic Carlos Martinez of Bridges. Welcome, Carlos.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Diana.
Of course. So, Carlos, tell us, what is Bridges?
Absolutely. So Bridges is an organization commonly known as a Center for Independent Living. It's one of many centers across New York State and across the country, really. A network of centers for independent living are centers built by people with disabilities. They are governed by people with disabilities, led and staffed by people with disabilities. And their mission, our mission, is to essentially, through leadership and action and advocacy, to remove barriers and advance independence for people with disabilities, whatever that means for the individual. So yeah, we're one of 44 centers in New York State and one of over 400 in the country and over thousands across the globe.
That's awesome. So how did you get involved with Bridges?
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool story. I mean, for me it is. I worked in foster care for a little while with the New York Foundling in New York. And one of the troubles as a social worker was really fighting systemic problems that were faced by families, parents whose children were taken away. It made it hard for a lot of us to do our jobs effectively. One day I'm looking at a posting that I saw online that talked about systemic change and advocating for the rights of people with disabilities. And I'm going, whoa, that's an organization I want to work for. Um, Long story short, I moved forward in applying for a job at the center and received the opportunity to be part of a very unique program called Consumer Directed Personal Assistance, CDPA, a program that's growing very rapidly in New York and has been for the last 10 years. Um, and slowly but surely, I've made my way towards the role of executive director over the past 12 years, um, to support our mission and to continue to provide some of these valuable services we provide to the community. It's been a nice journey, I must say.
Very cool. So what is a CDPA?
So CDPA is an acronym for Consumer Directed Personal Assistance. And it's a program that allows people to utilize our services to pay a loved one or a friend or family member to work in the home like traditional licensed home care, um, except that you don't have to be certified. So, in this case, and in many cases, you have family members and friends already providing caregiving at home and this program allows the individual to be paid through Medicaid, through organizations like ours, to provide that support to people who need that assistance at home. So it's one of our largest programs at Bridges, among many more programs.
That's an awesome program. That's very cool.
Yeah,
So another one of your programs that I'm personally a really big fan of is something called the Independence Cafe. Want to tell us about that?
absolutely. So so just to talk about Bridges as a whole, we're a nonprofit organization, of course, and nonprofit organizations often are looking for ways to fundraise for the next dollar to support some of the programs that we're doing for the community that oftentimes aren't fully funded. And so fundraising activities is a part of my job as a CEO, is a huge part of the job as a nonprofit and the board. So we've been thinking about ways to continue to fundraise, but not do so in such a traditional way, especially in regions like ours where it's a very small community and fundraising for those dollars is tapping into the same well over and over again. And so we looked at ideas. And one of the things as a board and as a staff we came to is a decision to get involved in entrepreneurship activities that would not only look at ways to support the organization, but perhaps even further our mission in different ways. Like entrepreneurship activities could help fund uh, employment opportunities for people that we serve, to provide opportunities for people we serve to develop their own businesses, to teach them how to run a business. And so we started very small with a small cafe in a courthouse in New City. And this courthouse, uh, the cafe in this courthouse is really small, but it's very convenient. You have over 600 staff that work in the building, people that are coming in and out every day. And the minute they knew that there was a cafe, number one, they were really happy. And number two, when they learned there was a nonprofit that was hiring people with disabilities, including veterans with disabilities, all the more they wanted to support this endeavor. So it just opened up our eyes to opportunities to expand this and to look at other areas in our county to do it. So we've opened up two more cafes in the county, uh, that we have one in a government building and another one at a public park, which is brand new now. It's so we are just in the middle of having opened it and starting it up. So we're really excited to see how that does. But another unique opportunity we did was because our center is located at the Palisades Center Mall, one of the largest malls here in the Northeast New York region. Um, we decided why not have a retail store at the front of our office. And the idea came to us by one of our clients that we serve designs attire and asked us if we would be willing, because we're in the mall, to sell one of his sweaters. And I said I couldn't do that, because if I did, I'd have to do it for a lot more people or for others as well. And then I thought, but wait a minute, maybe I can do it for others as well. So from that point on, it just kind of grew into this idea. And what we've done, we've called it the Independence Cafe, a unique boutique where we sell products um, designed by and or for people with disabilities. So we have everything from jewelry to books to clothing, artwork, and of course, your very own product include design, um, Diana, that we've been able to expose to a lot of people that have walked in the mall to see these products and to look at our our center and our cafe as a unique opportunity for people to see products they wouldn't see at any other store. And so that's why we call it a unique boutique.
Yeah, I think it's a really awesome model. And I got to visit last year, which was really cool to see my product on a shelf. You're the only physical location where people can buy the lap snap. But tell us about some of your
Yes,
other products that you guys have.
definitely. We have, so we, I'm sure people that are hearing this podcast are aware of Judy Human, one of many well-known, one of the most well-known disability rights activists in our disability community. She has written a book, Being Human, uh, a really wonderful book, details stories of her advocacy work and her life. That book is in our cafe. We have several other books from young entrepreneurs that are here in our region in New York, both in New York City and Rockland County, who have written books detailing stories of their life and how they've overcome various situations, including those related to discrimination. Um, so it was really great to have those there. We have folks in the autism community that create candles and soaps, um, and even food products like jam and popcorn that we sell. We have a gentleman with cerebral palsy that created his own brand called OOH with an exclamation point. Uh, the clothing product is his own design with the intended purpose to, uh, promote positive messaging and motivate people. So we have a plethora of different products, and I'm really excited. And obviously the lap snap, which is awesome. We have it front and center in the middle of our display. So people come in and they ask questions, and we get them really interested in learning more about the products.
That's really cool. How do you find all of these different artists and entrepreneurs that you partner with?
So that's a great question. I mean, we do search around, and many of them have come by way of learning about our boutique. Some of them have seen our website and have seen our posts online. Some of them we've already had relationships with here in our community, so they're local artists and entrepreneurs. Um, and some like yourself, we reached out to, to say, hey, you have a great product. Let's, we would love to showcase it here in our store. And so we definitely do all around work on in different ways, and whether we're getting contacted by people or contacting folks to give them an opportunity where they otherwise wouldn't have it, to showcase a product at a mall where you have thousands and thousands of people walking through and checking products, out.
Definitely. So another one of you guys' really cool initiatives that I love is your annual ADA celebration. So for those of you who are listening, you
Yes.
probably know that yesterday was the 32nd anniversary of the passing of the ADA. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do for your ADA celebration.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. Uh, we've thankfully changed our model for celebrating the ADA. In the past, we used to go into a restaurant and invite people, very small enclosed space environment. Um, and we have since stopped that and opened it up and used, of course, the mall as an opportunity to really spread the message around the ADA and what it means for so many in our community. Um, as you said, the ADA celebration, the anniversary was yesterday, 32nd anniversary of the ADA. And we really spend time each year in the public where it really needs to be, to share with the community why the ADA is such a valuable and monumental policy and piece of law, and what it has done for people with disabilities who have in the past, hard to believe, 32 years ago, you wouldn't be able to go to a movie theater. You wouldn't be able to go to a park in public because it wasn't accessible. The ADA paved the way for expectations to be put in place so that governments and businesses ensure that what they're doing is accessible to the community around them. Um, and I love that. And there's always work to be done, no doubt about it. But imagine if the ADA wasn't there, my gosh, a quarter of our population would be stuck at home or in institutions here in 2022, and that would be a real tragedy.
Definitely. So I know you guys added some new cool aspects to the celebration this year, including a fashion show. Tell us about how that came
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, so so every year we try to come up with something creative, of course, that will bring people in to learn about the organization, to learn about the ADA, but also to learn about things that are happening. So last year we invited, actually we couldn't do it last year because of the pandemic, but the previous year we invited folks to come to the mall, learn about what we do is an expo style event where you have all these local organizations and vendors that either supply services for people with disabilities or provide products for people with disabilities or products designed by people with disabilities. So people in the community can walk around and learn and talk to different vendors, see the products that they're offering. So that's part of the event as well. Second part, like as you mentioned, we did this year, is a fashion show showcasing clothing and design by uh, an artist who designs clothing for folks with disabilities. And so it was really cool because it was so diverse in the way that the models that walked down the runway, if you will, um, were both wheelchair users and able-bodied, using a cane or not a cane. it was very diverse in that sense. So she was showing clothing that's fitted for basically anyone. And one of the things we have been talking about very recently as an organization is looking at universal design as our ultimate approach to anything, whether we do events, whether we're creating a space or inviting people to some kind of meeting, that we're looking at universal design as our approach, because universal design takes into account the largest amount of people possible and allows it to be that much more accessible. And so her clothing line was really nice to see, and really nice to be able to showcase that people were able to see people using wheelchairs and dressing up beautifully. Folks that were walking with a cane had attire that was, sort of fitted in a sense, in a way where, where it was easy to slip on and off if you needed it to be that convenient. So it was really cool. It was really fun. We had live music going on, and people just really enjoying it, and all the while learning and understanding the meaning of the day and the ADA for the disability community.
Very cool. I'm glad that that came about this year. Tell us about what other kind of project programs and initiative that Bridges offers. What else do you guys do?
Yeah, so so our organization is it's funny because we're we've gotten to a point, we've grown so much. We have about 16, 17 different grant programs and services. We have various contracts with state, federal, and local entities. And we have like 6 different departments. And just to name them, we have our vision services, we have our veteran services, our integration services department that serves the justice involved, folks in the community with disabilities. We have our advocacy or our independent living services department. We have our CDPA program. So we've gotten to a point where we have at least attempted to touch every area of life in our communities as it relates to disability. So many of our programs are peer run. So our veteran services are run by veterans who themselves might have a disability and serve veterans in the field who have PTSD or traumatic brain injuries. We have our integration services team who's helping folks coming out of the justice system, out of incarceration, and helping them find an apartment, finding a job, and helping them manage, everything from their, you know, the things they need to live everyday life again, especially, after having served time. We have people that have served 30 years in prison who've never seen an iPhone or an Android phone, as I like to refer to. Uh, and, you know, and it makes a world of a difference to have the guidance and support, especially with a disability, to have someone there to help you and assist you towards your independence, because there aren't many services out there that do that. And then our folks in the independent living services department, that is really the heart of our organization, that is advocating on a daily basis, helping people transition out of nursing homes, and getting people into the best, most suitable, accessible location possible in our communities. But to piggyback on the question about maybe new ideas, and related to this topic that we're talking about, related to the Independence Cafe and other things, is that we're actively building a program with our Business Advisory Council, which is made up of business leaders in our community, to build an entrepreneurship program that will help people with disabilities out there that have ideas or concepts and wish to make a business out of it. And so, we have these meetings, and we're inviting entrepreneurs already that exist to come and speak about what inspired them to do, to create their idea, to move forward with the idea, to build their business, so that we can have a better, or at least better insight into how to best manage a program that will empower people to move from idea and concept to product and distribution. So that's one of the newest things we're working on right now actively, and we're really in the early stages of it. But the cafe has really motivated us to look for ways to inspire people with disabilities to who have these ideas to come forward, and look for ways through these great minds, these folks that are already running multi-million-dollar businesses, to how to get started, and things to think about as you start a new business.
That's really awesome. I've done a bunch of accelerators as I've grown my business over time, and none of them have really focused on the different experience that entrepreneurs with disabilities have. So I think it's really awesome that you guys are doing that, especially since you're already involved with that kind of community through the Independence Cafe. I think it's really, I think non-disabled people can sometimes struggle to understand in the entrepreneurship world how the experience can be different for someone with a disability, especially
Yeah.
some disabilities that are often a full-time job in and of themselves to manage. So I think that's really awesome. When do
Yeah,
you guys think that that will be starting?
that's a great question. So, right now it's exploratory learning. So my hope is to have something into the new year that will be a solid program that people can apply for, and we can begin to share in the community that this program exists for folks that are interested. Then, and obviously we're always following, the value of centers for independent living like ours, like Bridges, is the peer perspective. So, when I say business leaders, they're able-bodied business leaders, but there's also disabled business leaders, entrepreneurs that are in this team, including on my board of directors, that are going to be influencing how these programs are created, how this program is created to best support an entrepreneur with disabilities who want to start their own business.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I hope that some of the vendors that sell in your Independence Cafe already will be, mentors for some of the up and coming entrepreneurs. That's a really awesome opportunity, I think, to connect.
Yes, and I hope that you will be one of them, Diana.
Oh, I would be happy to. I would love to do that. About
Yes.
how big of an organization is Bridges? I have no concept of how many people work for Bridges.
Yeah. So if you don't include the caregivers, and the caregivers under the CDPA program is around, I would say, between 550 to 600
Wow,
uh, caregivers. Um, if you don't count them in the employee mix, you're talking about 50 direct employees
that's awesome.
that work for Bridges. Yeah, and that includes, we have drivers, we have part-time staff that help with administration of responsibilities, and um, all the way up to directors and managers in the organizations that help run the programs effectively.
That's good. I had no idea it was that large. I think I've only met you, Nancy, and Tim,
Yeah.
but everyone's that I've met so far has been
Yeah,
great. So I'm glad that
that's
you guys
awesome.
are doing that.
Yeah, we're
Awesome. So,
excited. We're yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention one of the things we're trying to expand on as a Center for Independent Living is our ability to provide services in other areas, like in the deaf and hard of hearing community. And we were really blessed to have hired a staff member. Her name is Esther, and another individual, Taylor, who both know sign language and American Sign Language, and are both there as peers to support the deaf and hard of hearing community. So that's a new addition to the agency. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier that our organization was able to acquire an organization that's called the Association for the Visually Impaired, that has historically served Rockland County for more than 40 years. And they were going through a really tough time financially. So our organization was able to pick up those services and restore them and keep them going to serve people who are blind, or have low vision, and support their independence in the community. So those are like two new additions I wanted to share that Bridges is able to do now more effectively than we were able to do before. When you don't have those peers, it's hard to relate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, other than the really cool entrepreneurship program that you just mentioned. Are there any other upcoming initiatives that we should know about?
Well, so we're looking to make a do something really innovative where we're one of the things that we advocate so much on housing and affordable housing and accessible housing, and that's really become a battle, especially with the expectations and the bureaucracies that go with affordable housing and
Yeah.
the ability to actually build those in areas like ours. So I can't say too much because it's so early right now, but I did want to give you sort of the hint, if you will, that we are developing a process for which we're going to take on the reins of acquiring a house or housing, and build it and rebuild it universally designed.
Wow.
So
So cool.
so that it could, yeah, and that's an exciting thing for us because we decided late last year that it's time for us to be the leaders in it as opposed to trying to convince others it needs to be done.
Totally.
And so that's something that I will have more information on in the future for you as we start to unfold steps that need to be taken to get there.
That's awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that and their other programs in the future.
Definitely, yeah.
So, other than coming into one of your excellent independence cafes and buying something to eat or supporting one of your entrepreneurs, what can people who are listening who want to support the work that you're doing do to help? How can they get involved?
Absolutely. So you can visit our website, www.bridgesrc, like Rockland County, bridgesrc.org. You can look at all of our wonderful services there. We even have a list of all our staff and what they do. Um, our organization has been a staple in Rockland County and throughout the Hudson Valley for more than 35 years. And so we are excited, to share all that we do whenever we can. So please visit the website. There's information there on resources also, and information on events that happen, future events. Um, we just went through a slew of different events, and our next event is really more of a fundraiser in August. But we usually have accessible picnics. We have our ADA event that come up year to year. Things like a comedy night that feature disabled comedians. So look out for those things on our website, and I hope people will get involved and give us a call or donate or um, at the very least learn who we are and what we stand for here in the community.
That's very cool. Other than your website, where can people find you on social media?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I should mention that. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Look for Bridges underscore RC in those areas, or Bridges in Rockland County. Uh, you can find our organization on pretty much all the social media platforms. I don't think we've gone into Snapchat yet, but you could definitely find us on TikTok now too.
All right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for that. Even I'm not on TikTok yet. Um,
We have one of our staff members doing a really cool dance move, showcasing some of our services as he points through. So
oh,
I
very
think
cool.
people get a kick out of that.
I'll have to check it out. Is there anything else you want to let our listeners know about Bridges before we sign off for the evening?
Absolutely. I think as we mark the 32nd anniversary of the ADA, one of the things I tell people as I present on Bridges and talk about the disability community and disability rights and awareness is that the easiest thing to see is outright discrimination and how people with disability are in many cases sidelined, not involved in things they should be. But I also talk about the more difficult thing to look for, the difficult thing to find, which is the quiet prejudice of low expectations. It's one of the hardest things for us to fight because you don't see it right away, and oftentimes it gets away from you before you can address it. And I just want to challenge people to think about that as, especially as us able-bodied folks, um, to remember that it's one of those things that limit folks from truly accessing opportunities. And I'll give you one short example.
Yeah.
A staff member we recently hired who has cerebral palsy, uses a cane, and he reminds me of when before he worked at Bridges, um, of a job interview he was going for. And as soon as he saw the faces of the interviewers, he knew he wasn't getting the job. They saw him, they saw the cane, they saw the walking, and he already knew he was not getting a call back. And that's just a simple example, very simplified example of the quiet prejudice of low expectations. When people aren't given the opportunity to excel, to showcase their talents, just by virtue of how they look or what disability they have. And that's one of the hardest things to fight. But I'm determined, and our organization is determined to to see our to see the disability community rise and to combat this quiet prejudice of low expectations, so that people, no matter whether you have a disability or not, you can excel in the community, whether it's finding a job or finding the latest consulting opportunity or business opportunity, and that people won't think less of you because you have a disability.
Thank you, Carlos. I think that's beautiful. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. It's been really lovely to have you and have a great talk. For everyone else, we are off next week. Tina will be driving back from her competition, and I will also be away. But we will be back on August 10th with Tina. So I will say goodbye to you all for now. Hopefully someday Tina will have me come back and host another one of these. But as Tina always says, don't just sit there, make a difference.
I'm Chaz Kalenda, and I'm running to be the next Rhode Island Attorney General. I practiced law for the last 16 years, 12 of them in the office of the Attorney General, so I have the knowledge and experience to do that job at a high level. I'm not here to fight for a political agenda. I'm not here to fight for a special interest. I'm here to fight for the rights of every Rhode Islander, no matter where you come from or no matter what your background is. I'll need your votes on September 13th for the primary election and November 8th for the general election. If you have any questions about where to vote or how to vote, please contact your local Board of Canvassers or the Secretary of State's office or website. I'm not running to be just another politician. I'm running to be a public servant who can serve as a much-needed check and balance on the state of Rhode Island to root out the corruption both inside and outside of our system. We need your support. You can visit my website at chas4ag.com to learn more about me, donate, or volunteer your time. I'm Chaz Kalenda, and I approve this message.
To take home the Golden Gloves, you've got to put in the work, and you've got to be tough as nails. Ashley Kalis was driven to achieve. Today, Kalis is still fueled by that same hope, grit, and determination. A mother of 3 school-aged boys and successful business owner who ran testing and vaccination sites across the state. Kalis is the fighter Rhode Island needs right now because it's time for a change. Ashley Kalis for governor.